So today on Facebook, I got in a very interesting and heated debate with someone over YouTubers and the retro gaming community. This person took to their Facebook page and basically said that they feel that YouTubers are what's ruining the retro game collecting hobby. And he posted some scores that he got, back in 2007, 2008, up until like 2013. And now he's saying, the market has dried up. People on YouTube and resellers are ruining retro game collecting. And I didn't take offense to it, but I wanted to put my 2 cents in because, I'm still pretty new to the world of YouTube. RGT 85 is a little over 2 years old, but the channel has grown a lot. So, people sort of look to me for my input on things for whatever reason, which is crazy. So, I put my 2 cents in and we ended up getting into this long debate and whatnot. He brought up a lot of points. I would refute those points and he could never really give me a clear-cut answer. I'm not going to say his name or anything. I don't want you going bombarding his Facebook page, but I wanted to make this video because I think there's a misconception that goes on that YouTubers ruin retro gaming and YouTubers ruin retro game collecting. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm very serious about this topic. I actually made bullet points because there's a lot of stuff I want to go over. So let's get into it. Are YouTubers ruining retro games and retro game collecting? Let's find out. So to start this off, I kind of just want to talk about how I got into retro game collecting and the time frame, because I actually got in way before YouTube. 2002, 2003, junior, senior in high school, I was working a job, I had a little bit of money. Me and my best friend at the time played a lot of Nesticle, and we played a lot of NES ROMs. He had an NES and some games, and we realized we really enjoyed playing these games, and reminded us of when we were kids, and there was a lot of games that we weren't familiar with. So we ended up going to, this military town nearby, and we would go to, GameStop and pawn shops. GameStop at that time was actually selling retro games. I actually have my copy of Turtles in Time on the Super Nintendo is from GameStop. That's what I paid, 15 bucks for this. So it's not like, all of these games were like $1 or $2 at the time. Like people, like to put rose tinted glasses on and think of the good old days of collecting. Like 15 bucks for a Super Nintendo game. Like, yeah, this is a $40, $50 game now, but it's also a really good game. So of course the price is gonna go up on it. So, 15 bucks in 2003, that's still a decent little amount of money. It's not that going right now, and I'm sure if you could turn back time like Cher, you would go back and, scoop up a bunch of these, but that's just something interesting to put things into perspective, that not everything was, $1, $2 like people seem to think they were. There was actually prices on some of these games. Some of the games were more valuable, and that's just what it all boils down to. So as this discussion went on, one of the things he brought up was AVGN and Pat, the NES Punk, and their rise in the YouTube community and how this person felt that they inflated game prices. When I was introduced to YouTube, back in 2006, I became a huge AVGN fan. Like, he's still probably my favorite YouTuber. Just amazing content. It's so funny. And a lot of people don't realize that it's a character, you know what I'm saying? So one of the main points that he brought up was whenever they review a game, or whenever they would review a game, it would cause the price to skyrocket. Obviously, Pat, focuses more on the podcast now, but he still does a review from time to time. But back in the day, that's what he did a lot of. He did a lot of reviews on stuff. Same thing with AVGN. So I don't think that them talking about a game caused it to skyrocket in price. What causes a game to skyrocket in price after they make a video is a renewed interest in the game. So people can see an opportunity like, oh, AVGN just talked about this game, maybe we can raise the price of it a little and see if people buy it. And then when people buy it for that higher price, they keep going until it reaches a limit. Like, that's how all retro games are. None of these games are worthless unless we give them value. If someone out there who's collecting is willing to pay $40, $50 for this game, Turtles in Time, then that's what it's worth. If nobody was willing to pay that, nobody would sell it for that. And people don't realize that. So yes, when Pat and AVGN back in the day, in the earlier days of YouTube, were talking about retro games, it did renew interest in the hobby. But that's not a bad thing. because at the end of the day, we wouldn't be here doing this sort of stuff probably if it wasn't for people like that, bringing light to these games. Like a game like Jekyll and Hyde, you know? Nobody cared about that until the AVGN episode, which was hilarious. And then people got interested in it. But is Jekyll and Hyde a $50 game? No, of course not. This happens in every form of media too. When you think about things like, you know, when Shenmue 3 was announced, Shenmue 2 skyrocketed in price. It went up to $50, $60 on eBay. What is it now? It's back down to like 20 bucks complete. So it's just people get impatient and they get impulsive and they just want to buy this game, and they are the ones causing the market to go up. Bringing, you know, awareness of a game doesn't cause that game to skyrocket in price. It's when people are willing to pay for a higher price that causes it to go to a higher price. So I think the Pat and AVGN, you know, comment that this person made was just, you know, it was silly. It's very short-sighted because these games don't have any value unless we give them a value. So to blame it on people, you know, bringing about memories of these games is just, it's very short-sighted and very silly to me. Another thing that this person brought up was the game chasers and how they pretty much, you know, with their success ruined the game collecting, you know, as far as, you know, going to thrift shops, going to pawn shops and finding cheap games and whatnot, because they made a show about it, which I think is once again ridiculous. Like you're trying to penalize people for becoming successful, for talking about and doing things that they love, which is crazy. I don't think that, you know, a show like the Game Chasers, all a show like the Game Chasers makes you want to do is go find video games. Like, is that a bad thing? And if there's other people looking for video games, that's just the nature of the beast. That's any sort of collecting thing. Like, did we freak out, you know, when Beckett became a thing with baseball cards and all of a sudden baseball cards had value? And, you know, did we say, Beckett, oh, they're the devil? Like, no. Like, what the Game Chasers do is they go and find video games at places and they try to get them for cheap, which is what all of us do. They just document it and make it into an entertaining show. And honestly, they're two of the, you know, Billy and Jay are like two of the nicest guys. They get a lot of shit from people because they're sort of, you know, they're like me. You know, if you attack me in the comments or something, I will fire right back at you. And they do that sometimes, but I mean, that's human nature. Like, they're honestly very nice individuals. They're very cool people. I've been friends with them for a while now. You know, before, you know, RGT even blew up, like they were very cordial to me. So to see people, you know, blame them, like once again, all it did was bring awareness to the hobby. Like, is that such a bad thing? Is that something that we're so hung up on that other people are now interested in this hobby, in this love that we all share, that like we're angry about it? No, it's crazy. Look, here's a fact for you. You're not gonna get the same deals you got in 2007 to 2012, because here's something that nobody seems to remember. We now have money. We have jobs, okay? We can afford a house. You know, we can afford an apartment. And that means we can afford these things that we had when we were a kid. Do you know why I own a 3DO? Because I never had a 3DO when I was a kid, and I always wanted to play one. And now, as an adult, I have more income. So, you know, this is what Buzzy from Bad Graphics Gamers brought up. We all have income now. We're all adults now, so we can relive our childhoods and, you know, see things that we might have missed out on. And that's a thing that everyone seems to forget. And it's just crazy to me how we just overlook the fact that we have money now. So of course we're gonna spend money on things we like. We're gonna spend money on our hobby. Another thing I wanna bring up is that the rise of technology. You know, a lot of people are saying because of these YouTube shows that everyone and their mother knows that, you know, video games are worth money now. But the thing of it is that in 2007, who had a smartphone? Who could check prices of stuff in 2010, you know, on their cell phone? Like, smartphones are relatively newer in the world of things. So when you could just pull out something, you don't have to bring your little laptop with you. You could pull out and see what something's going for in price. Yeah, people are gonna take advantage of it. And you have to just not give into that. Of course, as more and more people get into the hobby, you know, prices on things are gonna go up. Is it indicative of YouTubers though, or is it indicative of the retro game collecting culture? That's something to think about. And the final point I wanna bring up is, let's say all of us YouTubers are the devil. Let's say that we are causing these game prices to go up. Do you realize the effects, the positive effects that the retro gaming community has had? I'm not even saying me, I'm not even saying any of my friends, I'm just talking about in general. Let's analyze a few things here. First off, personally, I have had people message me and say, hey, you know, I was in a dark place, watching your videos really helped me. You know, it made me get back into collecting. It made me realize, you know, things were better. I've had people literally message me saying that they were on the verge of suicide, and that things like my videos and things like the Game Chasers videos, I'm sure they get it all the time too, and you know, all these other YouTubers are making a positive influence in people's lives. Like, sorry that your games, you know, went up in price and you can't hoard them all, but you know, the retro game community has such a positive effect on people. Think about all of the amazing cons that go on now. Things like, I just went to too many games. Like, would something that be that big if it wasn't for retro gaming? You know, would people who feel like outcasts, people who feel like, you know, they don't have a place in life, when they turn on, you know, an RGT 85 video, when they turn on a Game Chasers video, when they turn on an AVGN video, and they feel a connection with that person, that's worth way more than any sort of monetary value. When you could have people of all ages, all races, all creeds, all sexes at these events, getting together, realizing that, hey, you know what, you're not alone in this world. There's other people like you. There's other retro game collectors like you. There are other people out there that, you know, have fun with this stuff. You're not alone. You're not weird. You're awesome, if anything. Like, that right there to me is worth way more than this, you know, stupid collection. Like, being able to make a positive influence in someone's life. So even if you blame YouTubers for the rise in prices, you have to think of at least the positive aspects that, you know, we're lucky enough to be able to do for people. We're lucky enough to be able to put into people's lives. And, you know, maybe you'll realize that's worth more than, you know, overpaying for a video game. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's all love, man. But yeah, so let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comment section down below. I think I went over all my bullet points. Let me go over them real quick. Yep, I sure did actually. So let me know what you think about this situation in the comments section down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe if you're new here, and if you hate me for being a YouTuber talking about retro games, sorry. See you guys next time. Later.
RGT, NA5, RGT, NA5. RGT.